Greg Budd from Bud's Baits here.
Welcome to the African Lure Craftsman. In the ensuing episodes, we'll be taking you along while we design and handcraft timber lures and hopefully get out into the water to use them. I've designed lures for some of the big boys in the industry and I sell my lures worldwide. I'll do my best to show you some of the hacks I've learned along the way. Stay with us and experience the wonders of casting lures to bass, giant catfish, tigerfish in Zimbabwe, which I'm fortunate to call my home, and cross borders with us as we'll target the denizens of the deep all along the African coast in magical places such as Mozambique. Through it all, I'll share a bit of my daily life and business experience, which can be quite tough in Zimbabwe at times, as we take you along to run the daily gauntlet of survival. Subscribe and click the notifications button to stay with us. Morning guys, welcome to another fantastic episode of the African Lure Craftsman. We're going to try and make it fantastic at least. We've got a lovely sunny day here finally, although the wind's up. And what we're going to be doing today is continuing with our Garfish half-beak build. I will be honest with you, I lost a day this week entirely. In fact, Ant, who's our fabulous person behind the camera here, got hold of me and asked me if I was prepared for this week's shoot, and I thought I was, thinking yesterday was Thursday, today is Saturday, and that I still had a day to prepare. But guess what? It wasn't Thursday, it was Friday, and here we are. So I've been up since early hours this morning trying to get things done, and yeah, we've had a little bit of success, but we've had a couple of guys on the channel ask us to show every aspect of this build. So my intention was to get a lot of it done and then to speed up the process a bit so we can get to the end, which I'm really excited as well to get to, and see that foil on there and see it taking shape. I was going to just full in processes and leave one segment to show the viewers. But I think what we'll do is we'll go through most of it and just hopefully won't drag out too long, and we'll all get to see this lure finished eventually. So what I've done is all I've done since the last episode is I've joined the wire together with braid. I've got 40-pound braid on there. I've got around 20-30 wraps on each piece. As it is, if I went and hung 50 kgs off here, it would stay, it would maintain its integrity. But once that's set into epoxy or into my jack dust and super glue concoction, it'll be 100% perfect, probably about 3 times more that strength. So I'm not worried about that. That's all there. It has presented a little bit of a problem because, of course, all of these wires, if you remember, were clicking into place. Now I've added girth to the wires by tying them together. It's kind of caused a few problems with the slots, so I'm going to have to increase the width of the slots in some place and make these all fit again. Some of them fit still, but not all of them, so that's what we're going to have to do eventually with that. Today, however, what we're going to do, as we said we'd do last week, was we're going to finish off the cosmetics on the face, the fins, and it's necessary to do that at this stage before it's wired together or before I glue any of the wire in, because if I glued that wire in there, now I've got to contend with this hanging out of it all the time. So I'm going to leave that aside for now, and we're going to deal with the face, the cosmetics, the beak on the garfish, the fins, and we're going to get that done. Then we'll slot it all together. We'll dig the slots for the fins. I've done the one for the tail already, you can see there. That's probably about perfect. I'll show you something here if you want to have a look, and I often refer to my tracings. There's the tracing we used, and I want to make sure that's perfectly in scale and position, and there it is. So that and the tail all line up and it's perfect. So that's the slot. That was simply cut with the Maturk machine, which I'm loving, guys, by the way. It's a fantastic little tool, this, and simply cut with the Dremel cutting disc there. 2 size, very easy to use. These, I think they're dime. What are they? It's a speed click Dremel bit, but it's fantastic because it's got a sanding effect on the side as well, so you can really get in there and you can make those sides flat. I like to finish off with a flat file so you can get your fit perfect, but yeah, to get the quick cut in there, that's the perfect tool for it. Anyway, let's get on with it. Put these things aside. and get to where we're going. I'll obviously need my glasses for this again, because as you know, can't even find the glasses. That's terrible. Anyway, as you know, my eyes are terrible, I think as a result of building lures, but anyway. Okay, so let's start with our cosmetics on the face here, and to start off with that, what we're going to do is just finish up this beak area here. Seeing as it's nearly ready to all go together, let's finish that up first, and we'll put those side fins on. So for that, what we need is our needle files, and I'm just going to work that beak down to the pencil mark there. I'll just redraw it, which is off the tracing. So we don't want to take it down too much, because we're going to have a very, very close fit where the wire recess, or the wire touches at the back of the recess, and the top here. So we'll just take it down a bit and give it some more realism. So needle files, as I say, best thing. They work pretty quick. You can go rather vigorously and get all that material off. Be a bit careful around the mouth, obviously, because you don't want to take that mouth back any further. Also, guys, be careful not to stab yourself. A lot of these I've broken the tips off on purpose, because they're very, very sharp, and so often I've stuck them into my hand, amongst other things like drill bits and various things like that. So just be careful. It's not life-threatening, of course, but I can tell you it smarts somewhat. So we're nearly there already. Just get a side profile of that. Yeah, looking good. We'll neaten it up now. You can see where the super glue impregnated cardboard is kind of giving me a buffer, so I don't go back too far on this. You can still damage it, but it does provide that sort of buffer, so you don't over shape or take off too much material. It's got to see this line here. Quite difficult actually keeping it in place for the camera, I must say, because normally I'd have this tucked between my legs and my eyes glued to it. But we're doing all right. We're doing all right. Okay, the other side to the line. Let's get some of the top off again. Neaten that up. Get that sharp edge in there. And guys, that's pretty much what we'll do with the file. The rest we'll do with sandpaper. What I'm not going to do is, it'd be very wonderful to have a gaping mouth and give some sort of air of panic in this bait, but it might affect swim a little bit, so I'm not going to create any open caverns or anything like that that might cup water. Remember, it's all about hydrodynamics and how water flows off everything, so we're not going to do that. What I'll get next is my 220 grit sandpaper, and I'll just neaten up these areas. The thing I love to do is either fold it double, or even if you need it something a little bit harder, fold it again, and you can use that edge, doesn't last forever, to get inside things and create sharp corners. So there we go, looking good. Quite easy actually. Okay, take a little bit more off the top here. So you got the little downturned bit of the mouth here, which I think is quite an important characteristic of a garfish. So we're going to just try and get right in there without taking any of the other features off. I might have to turn this way. A file might be better for this. But no, we've done it. Just don't take too much off. Slight undercut there. Slight. And I think that'll do it. Just bar a little bit of sanding. And there, what we have there on both sides, yes, is the mouth feature with the beak. Probably a little bit thicker than it would be in reality, but bearing in mind we do have to keep the strength, so I'm going to leave it like that. And the first thing I'll do with that, I can always take some more off, is I'll seal it with super glue. So I'm going to take a little bit of super glue. Remember, most timbers drink super glue, which is a good thing. So just seal that up there. And that's kind of now that feature set in place, which is great. If we take a look at the front, which I haven't done yet, it should be all pretty much lined up. I think it is. I can tidy that up a little bit just now. So everything is perfectly in line. The alignment's perfect. Our beaks there, we haven't broken through, which is great. And we all set to now do the fins. So let's start on that aspect now. Okay, so here's our front section, or our head of the swim bait, looking rather sweet, I think. What we're going to do now is, if you'll remember, we cut out these cardboard fins, these pectoral fins, quite some time ago, and we're going to position them on the bait in a kind of flared position. Now, if you look at our diagram, which I'm going to pick up here, and you look at the picture of the garfish we've got there, you'll see that the fins are in a downward facing position. I don't really think that's how a panicked escaping bait fish might be presenting itself. So I'm going to try and raise them a little bit, and I'm going to flare them out a little bit. Quite easy to do, and I'll show you how to do that now. So explain again. So on the picture they're kind of like that. I'm going to lift them a bit, and I'm going to flare them out. Good thing about cardboard, it's very malleable, so you can pre-shape it if you want. You just shape it how you want. And I don't know if you can see those angles on the camera, but it's pretty much shaped where I want it already. And the only bit we really want to stick on initially is where it joins the body there. See, if I hold that, it's already flared. Quite easy to do. I'm going to turn the bait around so I can hold this position up so it doesn't stick. Get my alignment right. It's kind of like where I want it to be. I'll reach for my super glue, and I'm just going to put a dab on there, a little bit. Knock it down, and there we go. So that's it, just stuck into position. I'm going to show you the side-on view so you can see what I mean. And we're going to try and get a maybe a little bit lower, but a kind of a flared fin like that. Now, it's not going to be like it is now. I'm going to fill in the back. I'm going to give it some integrity and make sure that that sits exactly where I want it. But let's give you a side view quickly, just so you can see what I mean about raising it a bit rather than have it in that sort of downward position there. So let's go further to that. What I can do now that I've done that is I'm going to give this some strength just by putting more super glue on it. It's not going to stick down because it's raised. You ready? And we're going to soak that in super glue. Soak it in super glue. And already I can feel it's becoming more rigid. As soon as that dries, that's going to be very, very rigid. That's the first step. The second step, which is going to be the next thing we do, is we just pack the back of that with jacaranda dust. I'm going to just remove a little bit of super glue. Another handy tip for you guys, always have some earbuds on hand, because I tell you what, working with super glue, you often have it running all over the show and you want to remove it. Best thing to do, get an earbud, remove it. Okay, so guys, that's nearly dry there. It's impregnated the cardboard. Bearing in mind, I've only so far got it glued right here where my finger is. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pack in jacaranda dust. You'll remember the jacaranda dust, very fine jacaranda sawdust. I'm going to put my finger there and I'm just going to pack that in there. Again, where earbuds come in handy, you can use the round stem to shape your sawdust how you want to. And just remember, guys, just do it in increments. Remove any outside material. You don't want to add or be sanding down stuff you've already done. Remove that from there. Remove the dust from here. And what I'll do quickly is I'll just put a drop of super glue in there. Done. There's that chemical reaction I've explained before. You can see that there's been a little bit of bubbling there. I'm going to do it to the other side, and I'm going to build on that gradually. Rather than put a whole lot and have it create a big mess, just make sure you put the super glue in the right place though. Have that earbud on hand so you can do that. And already blow off any excess. We've got that very, very rigid. Got a little bit of excess glue there. That's not a problem. I can take that off just now. And when I finish that, you're going to have that whole gap filled up. And then with my files, I'll shape underneath it. So you've got a rigid fin all the way out to there. So let me do that quickly and I can show you the end result. Okay, so guys, there we go. We've got our fin onto the head here, onto the lure. It's firmly stuck on there. I mean, I can push with all my might, and that is nothing's happening with that fin there. Going to create a little bit of a sharp edge, but we've also flared it so it doesn't get in the way of the angle when the swim bait is under motion. What I'm going to do now is quickly shape that. Very easy to shape. There's a couple of little areas I need to fill in still. And I'll finish this one off, get the other side on, and we can go on to the next step. Okay, a little bit more there. Okay. So what we got to do now is we can start shaping. Just going to give that a bit of a flat. We've got a few bumps on the front of it here, or on the face of it. You can see the force I'm exerting on here, but that will never actually come off there. Unless, I mean, it takes a heck of a hard knock. Something might happen, but not under normal standards or pressures. Going to take the files to it. Going to get the round file, which is very important. Okay, back to the flat file. We'll fill in more there as well, and I might just take those little points off as well. I've done the one fin here. I'm just going to show you that there, and I'm going to turn it side on. Hopefully you can see that. Just to show you the raised position and its flare, and also how much material I've put behind there to prop it up. Now, obviously, on a lure, it's generally not going to get attacked from the top, although you never know. So that sort of amount of material behind there doesn't matter. And anyway, it's hardly anything, but it does give it that integrity it needs. It's almost like a plastic mold has been put on there. That's required a little bit of finesse filing with the needle files, bit of sandpaper, using the edges of the sandpaper. But one of the easy ways to do it is just with a mini router on the Dremel. And if you need to take out excess material, which I do on the bottom here, I think that's the way to go. So let's just give that a go quickly as well. Holding it like a pen. This is a round routing bit, so I'm not going to do damage to the lure body itself. lot of finesse work, as I say. Doesn't take long though. And I won't take out too much. What I will do is I'll finish that up with sandpaper. So let's get back to the sandpaper under here and the files, and we'll just occasionally, what you will do is you'll expose a little bubble like there. There's a little hole. I'm sure you can see that. Easy to fill, again with dust and super glue. So let's just get all of this smooth. Get all the angles right. The round file is the perfect thing for this, to create a little undercut and a recess. Filling that little hole, and you know what, adding little bits of pieces of super glue here and there and just smoothing them out with your finger doesn't harm it. Gives it more strength. Just requires a little bit of sandpaper, but that hole's filled now. Let me sand that down again. Okay, there we have it. We'll take up here. We've put both of the fins on now, and I've sanded them back. There's a little bit more work to do. You'll see that's not exactly flat. I mean, I can do that later. And bearing in mind, we've still got the whole paint process after we've glued in the wire and everything to go, and the priming will fill in all the imperfections there. But as you'll see, it's looking quite good. We've got a nice fin flare on there. The angles are almost perfect. I think there's a little indentation in each fin. And if you look at it from every angle, it should be dead on. A lot of this is just by eye, guys, but you can use tools like verniers and things like that. What I did, just to make sure I had the gaps right, is I used a vernier to measure the different gaps here as I was filling in with super glue and jacaranda dust. As I say, a little bit more work to do, tidy up, but for all intents and purposes, that's where we want this to be right now. A few concerns of mine. They are projecting a little bit further back than I thought they would. All par for the course with building a freestyle swim bait. And one of the concerns is, would that be impede the action is one, and the other thing is, would line get caught around it? I'm not too sure. I'm going to round those edges a little bit for sure, and I'm going to actually take this back a little bit more. I have played with the next section, and I think we've got, with the gap that's intended, we've still got plenty of action or leeway, if I can hold this in the middle there. And given that it's got this the 6 segments, I mean, if you put them all together, it'll still have plenty of action there. So we're just going to play around with it. When we get the wire in finally, we'll have a look, and we might just take those back a little bit. We can always reshape them a little bit. It's not a train smash. And we'll take it from there. Anyway, so that's the cosmetics on the face done. We've done the beak. We've done the fins. We've done all the gills. There's recesses here. I don't know if you can pick up on the camera behind the gills. Little recesses in here. I'll probably hone those out a little bit more using a dental bit or something like that. And basically that'll be that section done. So looking quite nice. I think it's taking on form. Looking quite nice. The difficult part now is going to be getting it together and getting that wire inserted. We'll start with the head, bearing in mind with the wire tied, once we put the wire in the bottom slot and we glue it in there, we've got this attachment of wire on it. We can't take it off, and we can't do things individually on the individual pieces. So we're just going to have to make sure everything slots in perfectly first, and then we can go to that next stage of gluing the wire in. We hope you've enjoyed what you've seen once again. I think that's about as far as we're going to go with this episode. What we'll do next episode is we'll slot the wire in and show you a few different little hacks to do that and to get the wire dead straight, using little pre-made tools, which basically are matchsticks or pieces of tongue depressors or things like that. I always have these very handy. I cut these little pieces of wood and I have them at my fingertips, where I can actually put them in temporarily into a place to keep a wire open or something like that, and we'll get that wire stuck in there properly. We'll get all the bits on, and we'll have this swim bait virtually finished and ready thereafter for weighting and the fitting of the fins and the tail. Hope you've enjoyed. If you like what you've seen, hit subscribe, like, and join us next time.